Hello, everyone. Rob Paneer here. It's hockey time, and that means that there is a lot to do for Field Pass. Plus, I run a ministry, and I'm currently working on my doctorate. I have a lot to do already, but wouldn't you know, my wife would like more than 5 minutes of my time each day. I need to ensure that I am at my absolute best, and this is where Pure Energy has been a godsend. Pure is made of all natural products and helps to boost my energy while also helping me to think more clearly. I am getting more done than ever before, and there is no big letdown with Pure. I get 6 to 8 hours of great energy and clear thinking at a cost that is far less than you pay for store-bought energy drinks. Plus, Pure is actually good for your health. If you're looking to energize your day and get more done, then you need a dose of the Pure Performance. To find out more, go to thepureperformance.com and fill out the request form. That's thepureperformance.com. Someone will get in touch with you right away, helping you to get on the Pure Performance pathway to success.
3 topics, 60 minutes covering the biggest news in the ECHL. This is the 3 Periods Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Matthew Will and Matthew Harding.
Live with episode 20 and a half. It's the 3 Periods Podcast. I'm joined by Matthew Harding. How you doing, bud?
Doing all right, man. We're working. Everybody else is off. It is just you and me working for the man, doing a podcast for the people, by the way.
Absolutely.
How are you? It's good to see you back here in Kansas, and you and I will actually get to call a hockey game on Monday night, which is really cool. So tell me a little bit how finals finished up for you and the drive back home and everything else.
Yeah, it all finished up pretty nicely. I think I was more stressed about the couple of broadcasts that my sports staff back at USI was doing in Michigan, making sure that they got on the air with their phone line system. I think I was more concerned about that happening than my finals getting finished up with, but
Nice.
Both went great. We got home safe, and I told you right before we started, I don't really know what to do with myself. This is the first time in a long time I haven't had a active job or school for 2.5 weeks. This is a bit strange.
We are actually going to take a break tomorrow as a site, like on Friday and Christmas Eve and all weekend as a site. Like you and I have to do a pregame show Friday afternoon, or Sunday afternoon, but everybody else gets the rest of the weekend off, including us. I have no clue what I'm going to do. Like everything, all of my work is going to be done during the day tomorrow so that I don't have to do anything on Saturday or Sunday. And I have no clue what I'm going to do. No.
It was strange. I got up this morning to edit articles for the site, with Thursday being my day, and there was nothing. It was just strange. I finally had something to do today, and it got wiped away. So,
well, hey, you have friendly editors who will help you out with that. So
that's true.
Yeah. So we're glad you're listening to us wherever you are listening to us from. We're on Facebook Live on the Field Pass Hockey page. We're on YouTube Live right now, and we're also on Periscope / Twitter Live, whatever that's called these days. And you can find that at Field Pass Hockey. We would try and double up, but unfortunately, StreamYard only lets us use 3 accounts. So where do you want to go with this to start, my friend?
Well, it doesn't really matter who you are in the minor league hockey, in the hockey world in general. In the last week, you've had something happening to you in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, the Omicron virus giving us a brand new challenge, and it's safe to say hockey and sports in general are not immune to it. I mentioned some numbers last week about especially the NFL struggling. We've seen that be extreme. We had 2 games pushed to Tuesday night in week 15 of the NFL season. And then we saw the NHL start to take action, canceling all games from Wednesday through the end of the holiday weekend, just to kind of reset the clock a little bit. They also shut down the cross-border travel until after the holiday break as well. They'll continue the season on the 27th, as their little shutdown is going to go to the 26th. The Philly game just a couple nights ago was the 50th game postponed due to COVID so far this season. And it's just gotten really difficult for him. And of course, that sparked the next thing that happened this week. NHL announces that they are not going to be attending the Olympics in February, and they can now use those couple of weeks for makeup games. This was absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't send those players overseas to China. And remember, when they go to China, they're under China's jurisdiction for the virus. They're not under any International Olympic Committee or the NHL's clock. They're on China's clock. And the time for quarantine in China is between 3 and 5 weeks. So if you get it over there on the day of the closing ceremony, you are there potentially for another month plus. Probably not the place you'd want to be, but you're right. This is absolutely the right call. The league had lost too many games due to the virus at that point. You have to go back and you have to salvage the schedule. As I've heard, the league wants to finish the season on time as kind of a reset for next season. So it is imperative that they get things buttoned up quickly up there in the National Hockey League, and this was the right move.
Canada also taking some good measures. Quebec shut down all bars, casinos, cinemas, theaters, gyms, and entertainments. That was the right thing to do. It's for the time being, at least. And the QMJHL paused all of their hockey activities until at least the 7th of January, and then just announced in the last couple of days the AHL will cancel their All-Star game, which was set to be played in Laval. I think you and I have been mentioning for the past couple of weeks that we kind of were expecting this to happen with the way the cross-border travels were working. It was going to be very hard to send All-Stars to Laval in the AHL.
Yeah, and you really hate it for that place as well, right? Because it's a part of the Montreal metropolitan area, I guess, and you want to help buoy that market. Anytime the dog and pony show from the American Hockey League rolls into town, you want to be able to put your best foot forward. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that right now because of COVID and because of the Omicron strain of the virus. This is, as we talked about, this is another good move by the American Hockey League to pull the All-Star game out of there. Hopefully, it goes back to Laval at some point in the near future. I want to go back and I want to talk about the Quebec shutting down bars, casinos, movie theaters, gyms, entertainment centers until further notice. This will affect Trois-Rivières because now, and we saw this, we talked about this a little bit last week with Montreal not being able to play with fans in their arena. There is a better than average chance that Trois-Rivières could play games without fans. And that would be a crushing blow to a franchise that is just getting on its feet here in its first year.
Not only are they just getting on their feet, they're one of the hottest teams in the ECHL right now.
Right.
It would, I don't want to use the term detrimental, but it's going to hurt that club quite a bit if they have to start playing games without fans. They've instantly got a great following. One of my favorite games I've watched all year was opening night of the ECHL season. I was watching up until this time we started our podcast, and Trois-Rivières was getting set for the first game in franchise history, and it was really a special moment for those people. And it's going to hurt a lot if they're going to have to play a handful of games without, with it being till further notice. It could be quite a while that they have to go without.
Right.
I wonder. Part of me wonders if we see something like Newfoundland where they try to find a place they can play that they can have some fans. I wonder if they attempt that or if they try to move some games around so that they're playing a little bit more road games.
Right.
It'll be an interesting couple of weeks to see how the league and Trois-Rivières handle this.
Well, and not only Trois-Rivières, but you have Newfoundland as well, which now is forcing anybody to quarantine when they come into the province and they have to test negative. They are in an alert 3 setting. They're in Newfoundland as well. So if you have teams from the outside coming in, it doesn't make sense for them to quarantine for 5 days and then play hockey games on the island. So now you have to worry about what you're doing with Trois-Rivières and Newfoundland. And if you move them to any other province in Canada, there's probably some other restriction there as well. I know in Ontario, they're only playing with half full arenas. Like the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators are only playing in front of 50% of their fans. So that is another big hula hoop to jump through for the ECHL. You could probably relocate both franchises to the Powerade Center in Brampton, and that would make a whole lot of sense. And have games played out of there in a half-attended manner. But I mean, the possibility of having them go on the road is there as well. This is the tough sledding that I think we kind of knew could happen as we got into the winter months. But man, right before an all-star game, this is a huge uphill climb for this league.
And I don't mean to overly praise, but I think the ECHL is in good hands when it comes to some of these decisions. The people at the top of this league have done things the right way in the past couple of years, and especially with helping to handle things that are going on in Newfoundland earlier this season that weren't even COVID related.
Right.
I think they're in good hands for handling how this goes down, because there's a lot of question marks coming out of the Christmas break for sure.
Yeah. They are led by the right guy, and ECHL Commissioner Ryan Creelan, to handle those pitfalls and roadblocks heading their way. Just a couple of other footnotes for you. Scotland has told their teams, EIHL teams, the Dundee Stars, Fife Flyers, and Glasgow Clan, that they can only play in front of 200 fans for the next 3 weeks. And then the good news, I guess, if you're looking forward to this, is that epidemiologists in South Africa, where the Omicron variant began, have already said that they are seeing a sharp decline in the number of cases there. So if you follow that, I mean, it was a month from the time that Omicron was detected in South Africa till the time it got to our shores. Potentially, we're looking at the beginning of a pretty steep decline when we get into late January, with most of the cases now in this country being from the Omicron variant. So it's something that we will continue to follow. But I want to circle back to this idea because we talked about a few moments ago that the American Hockey League All-Star Game in Laval has been canceled. One of the first questions that came to mind as I was putting all of this together is, should the ECHL continue with their All-Star Game in Jacksonville here in a few weeks?
And that's going to be the golden question. In my eyes, I think it's right that, first of all, a decision has to be made by the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it to Jacksonville to 2 weeks or a week before this All-Star Game, pull the rug out from under them. I think a decision has to be made very quickly. I think the right thing is to find a way to postpone it to next year and give Jacksonville the chance to still host this finally. But I don't think this year is the year to do it. The scary thought is because this league has certain health and safety protocols in place, if players are testing positive, games will get postponed. And if each team sends a player to this All-Star event and an outbreak is to happen and these guys go back to their teams, you're looking at not only 5 or 6 teams getting it. You're looking at a full league shutdown potentially due to postponement. So I think it's probably, unfortunately, the hard pill to swallow, but the right pill to just go ahead and cancel the ECHL All-Star Game. And if you're going to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I'll pull the curtain back here because we've had those discussions on our own team as well. You and I are not making the trip down to Jacksonville as much as we wanted to. I'll speak for myself, and you can elaborate on this if you want. But when you see cases go up 73% in a week, and that Omicron is now the dominant variant in the United States, and it's as highly contagious as it is, those are huge, huge, huge red flags that make you stop and pause. And personally, I've got, my father-in-law is ailing. And so the one edict that I had from my wife was that I don't bring COVID home. And if I can't guarantee 100% that I'm not going to bring COVID home, then it's 100% that I'm not going to go. So for me, that was a personal decision. And like I said, maybe you can elaborate on it, but I think everybody has to have this decision. as we move forward, the players at these events, especially for the Fan Fest event on the Sunday afternoon prior to the All-Star game, are going to be out there signing autographs. That's one of the top billed deals of the All-Star event, is that you are meeting the All-Stars. And not only that, you're seeing the traveling displays and things like that. You're also doing a Hall of Fame dinner and all of that. So there's a lot of money involved in this, and I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, but I completely agree with you that it's probably time that they pull the plug on the events in Jacksonville. That said, the train is probably too far down the track, if that makes sense, for that to happen. I think that they're going to have those health and safety protocols in place. And I think if your team isn't represented, or if your team has an outbreak, your team just won't get represented. I don't know, but I something tells me that the train is too far down the track to turn it around.
And it also raises the question: what if a guy decides, I don't want to take that risk? If he's the one selected for his team, does that team get to? Does the league choose another player, or how does that work? Because it seems, I mean, of course, we can't guess the future, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have players just opt out of it if they're chosen.
That's a fair question. That's a really good point. Players get clout at this level of hockey. You move up to the next level of hockey because of what you're doing at the level that you're at. So if Joe Shalbotnik is named an ECHL All-Star and he opts out, is he still an All-Star? And how does that affect him down the road? Because he's not putting his skills on the ice in an All-Star game. So that is a very fair point. I would hope at some point that the league is transparent enough to come out and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. And, if you decide to opt out, then you're welcome to opt out and you would still be called an All-Star. There are a whole lot more questions than answers sitting 3+ weeks out from that event right now. And if you are watching this and you have an vested interest in that event, I would have a whole lot more questions about it right now than what I would feel comfortable about going. But like I said, that's a personal decision for everybody. I had to make it. You had to make it. We've had others on our staff had to make it as well. It's tough. We want to be there. We want to be there. We want to show Field Pass hockey in the right light. We want to tell the stories of All-Star Weekend. We want to bring you the coverage of it, but we want to be able to do it safely, and we want to be able to come home and not be sick. And the same way with the players as well. So, what we've always wanted to do on this side of the house is to never be the reason that a COVID outbreak happens. So, the only way to not be the reason is to not go. And so there were some other decisions, as I talked about, in there, but I feel like for myself anyway, that was the right move, just to stay put.
Yeah, that it is one of those tough decisions, and neither one of us liked to make that one, but it was one that did feel right at the time. So if you have thoughts on what's going on now with the Omicron virus and how it relates to the ECHL, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Depending on it, if you're someone who thinks the ECHL All-Star game can still go on, if certain things are going on, please let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. In the coming weeks, we'll keep you updated with what's going on in the COVID world as it relates to hockey. I assume before next Thursday night, when we meet next to close out 2021, we will likely have some more updates on all of this. I don't think we're immune for a full week from COVID style
probably not
postponements, etc. Just yesterday, the league announced a couple of games changing already in these coming weeks. So we'll keep you updated with what's going on with COVID and hockey. Certainly a long road still ahead of us to finish this year. But the people in charge are doing what's right. So that's where we'll leave the COVID discussion, and we'll move on to what we believe should be our all-star teams. We'll walk you through first the criteria that are laid out A player must have played in at least 75% of the team's games that they currently play for. Goalies must be qualified according to the ECHL stat books. Each team, East and West is how we've divided it up, can only have 4 veteran players with the ECHL veteran rules applying. You cannot use any players that are currently up in the AHL. And finally, 1 player per ECHL team. We're not choosing any for Jacksonville. I think they're on such a good run. I think the whole team is all-stars.
Yeah. If you're playing in the event, aren't you an all-star? Like, I think I had this conversation with a couple of Thunder players when they were here in 2020 for the All-Star game. It was like, aren't you guys all-stars? And they were, yeah, that's what they told us when they recruited us. So I think that every Jacksonville Iceman player will also be an all-star this year as well.
Well, 8-2-0-0 in your last 10 sounds pretty all-star. So
that's
at least good. They're fitting the bill.
Yeah, and that's a team best winning streak as well. They are having some kind of run there in Jacksonville.
Well, you and I certainly did not hit the 4 vet mark in each one. I got close on my west side, but we certainly didn't get close to that. And we've got a pretty interesting lineup. We're going to go alphabetical, starting on the Eastern Conference side, of course, excluding Jacksonville. We'll start with Adirondack.
I went with Patrick Grasso as the all-star there for the Adirondack Thunder. The rookie has put together a pretty solid campaign, 17 points in 19 games played prior to their shutdown, 9 goals and 8 assists for Patrick, and he's my all-star pick.
Yeah, I agreed with you on that one. Of their top 5 guys in points, he's the only one with a positive plus-minus. Staying out of the box, he's been influential on the power play. I think part of what makes the ECHL's level of all-star is the fact that you get to showcase some of these young players who are exceeding, and that's why Patrick's got my pick as well.
For Atlanta, I think you and I are pretty dead set on this one here, and you and I both like Tyler Parks as our ECHL All-Star. 11-3-2-1 mark for him on the year with a pair of shutouts, a 209 goals against average, and a 930 save percentage for Tyler Parks. He's our Atlanta representative in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And once again, I'll mention, even though I'm in a different place, I'd be happy to throw a Gladiators logo up behind me. So hit me up, Atlanta.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's do this. We'll have to get Jeff Pyle on the podcast here in the new year to get you that Gladiators logo. How about for Florida? How about for Florida?
Yeah, this one I differed a little bit. I decided to go with Blake Wieneke. He currently leads the Florida Everblades in points. And I mean, right now you can look up and down this Florida lineup. There's not a lot of guys who don't have double-digit points. They're playing exactly how you'd expect the Everblades. He's got 15 goals, 15 assists 14 goals, 15 assists for 29 points in 25 games played, and he only has 4 games played that he does not have a point recorded.
Wow. On the defensive end, I went with Jake McLaughlin. I love a defenseman, and Florida has turned him out over the last several years where they have high plus-minus ratings and things like that. This is a really good Florida team defensively, but I love playmakers on the blue line. Jake McLaughlin is that guy for me. 16 assists, which leads the club in that category. 17 points all overall in 23 games played. He gets my ECHL All-Star nod.
We head to Greenville next. For me, it's forward Diego Couglietta, who was dead silent in Indy in his 5 games he played with them to start the year. Traded to Greenville, and in his 16 games played with them, 18 points, 9 goals, and 9 assists. That one was a pretty easy pick for me as he slotted in perfect there in Greenville.
Yeah, it's amazing what playing with a different team does for you. As you talked about, he was silent in Indy and now has caught fire there in Greenville. I'm going to go with Liam Pecoraro, who has 19 points in 16 games. And it's not so much for me picking out the highest point producer on each team. I like the way that Liam Pecoraro plays the game. He's got a little bit of salt in his game, really sacrifices the body at times to make the play, and has high-end offensive talent in this league. And I think it was something that didn't get showcased nearly enough in his first couple of years, and I feel like an all-star nod for him would do him well. If you look at Liam's numbers over the span of 108 games, he has 98 points. So this is a player who's nearly a point a game in the ECHL, has had some call-ups in the American Hockey League as well, and deserving to have his work shown on a national stage.
Up next, we have Maine. We both agree there with their top point getter so far. Justin Brazeau has 10 goals, 10 assists, good for 20 points in his 18 games played. I'll be real, I bounce back and forth between him and Pascal Laberge, who has also had a tremendous year. But I think we both agree that Brazeau's the pick there so far.
Yeah, Justin Brazeau's been really the straw that stirs the drink for that club so far this year, and another point-a-game player in the ECHL, going back to his days in Newfoundland when he racked up 55 points in 57 games in his rookie year. You'd like to see him tighten up the defense a little bit more, but they're not playing a whole lot of defense in all-star games, and you want somebody who has a ton of talent offensively. Justin Brazeau's your guy.
The next one's Newfoundland, and I don't think either one of us had troubles picking this one out.
No, not at all.
It's each of ours first veteran, Zach O'Brien, who has 28 points in 21 games, 10 goals, 18 assists. There's not a lot of bad things you can find in Zach O'Brien's game.
No, just a guy who comes in and lights the lamp and
leads.
Yeah, and leads. You know, he's a good leader for that club, for that hockey club, on a group that has, you know, there are a ton of rookies in this Newfoundland lineup so far this year, but all high-end rookies, and they look to somebody like a Zach O'Brien to lead them. 28 points in 21 games. Wherever he's gone at this level of hockey, whether it's been Wichita or over to Newfoundland, he's produced. He also played in Ontario in 2013-14. So, you know, he's produced at every level for every team he's been on in the ECHL. Well deserving of a nod in the All-Star game. I want to ask you this question as it relates to Newfoundland. You and I saw the quartet of Noel Hoffenmeyer, Gordy Green, as well as Bobby McMahon. I think we saw Riley McCourt as well a little bit last year. There's one more name that is escaping my mind right now. But of those four that we saw from the Toronto Four, I guess, from last year, which one of those do you think would be close to deserving an all-star bid?
It's probably Gordy Green, 17 points in 20 games. But Noel Hoffenmeyer is and has been an electric power play player. When he was in Wichita last year, the power play was significantly better than when he was not playing on that power play line. He has 4 goals this year, and 3 of them are on the power play. It tells you all you need to know about him. And he's also a positive plus-minus guy when it comes to that category. And he plays the game the right way. He's a lockdown defender who will always assist you on the offensive side of things. I don't think the numbers are what takes him to the All-Star game. I think it's the style of play he has.
I would agree with that. I like Gordy Green's game as well. Just a bulldog on the puck, and when he gets it and he fires it to the net, he doesn't miss a whole lot, and he plays a clean game as well. One of the few players in the ECHL who's actually played a number of games this year and has 0 penalty minutes. Gordy Green is winning the Lady Bing of the ECHL, ladies and gentlemen. So he would be my pick. I loved Gordy Green's game when he played here in Wichita last year. We got to see him a little bit in the early part of the season and then back for the playoff run for the Thunder last year. Love that game from that young man, and it's good to see that he's getting some reps up there in Newfoundland.
A team who's tried to be a thorn in the side throughout the year so far is Norfolk, and I think we also tend to agree on this one.
Yeah, sorry, you caught me mid-drink. We're going to go with Alex Tong here, 19 points in 20 games. We've talked about Norfolk wanting to be a thorn in the side and put themselves up there with the elite of the ECHL this year. I had a couple of other players in mind for Norfolk, but the thing that turned me off about them was their plus minus. I want to ask you, as we look at stats, and the common fan will look at a player's stat line and go, "Oh man, he's minus 30. This guy sucks. What is he doing on our team?" Or, this guy has a plus 3 or a plus 10 or whatever, or minus 5. I think you and I agree that plus minus is an awful stat, right?
I think the only time that it really shows is when, like, you get to the end of the season and it's way up or it's way down.
Right.
I mean, the guys that are sitting at a plus 35 or plus 40 at the end of a season are obviously doing things the right way. Um, I don't think it's exactly the same when you're sitting at a minus 20, minus 25, because a lot of the time you can just get stuck out in a wrong place.
Yeah.
If your two defensive pairings or your defensive pairing behind you has a 3-on-2 against them and you're skating back as a forward and they just completely break up coverage and the other team scores, you're getting hit with a -1 for a play that wasn't even really on you if you were behind. So it's hard to really base that off anything. I think the stat's helpful in some cases, but only if it's extremely one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. I think if you look at plus minus and you throw out everything plus 10 to minus 10 in that window where you think, okay, the bad line change or something like that could be the reason why. When you go outside of that window, minus 11 and higher or plus 11 and higher, then definitely, yeah, you're looking at something that is, that speaks to more of the game that the player plays.
I think especially if it's a defenseman that has a plus 15 or higher.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you know that they're, and that I believe that the stat of plus minus is that they're on the ice when they're scored on or they score at even strength. It doesn't count in special team situations. I think that you're right. That stat speaks to the game that the player plays, defensemen, forwards, and especially for a defenseman, because you can look at that and say, okay, this guy's not getting scored on if he's a plus 20 or plus 30 or plus 40, and this guy's actually chipping into the offense more than he's getting scored on. So, yeah, I mean, that stat is, to your point, that stat is not as awful as I thought it is. I love your explanation on it, that it is useful when you get above a certain window.
Well, I'll pick out a guy that I know the best, and that's Stephen Fournier, a guy who plays really solid hockey right in front of the net or right behind the net.
Right.
If there's a tipped puck at the blue line and now it's a 2-on-2 the other way, and he's playing his position right there in front of the net, it's not his fault that he's not all the way back when he's playing his offensive position. But if they get scored on, he's getting hit with a -1. And that's why that stat is sometimes hard to base things off of.
That's true. That's an excellent point. But yeah, had to go with Alex Tong there for me because he has, he's putting solid points together and he's on the right side of the plus minus ledger. A lot of that Norfolk Admirals team, not right now.
Yeah, of the 10 guys who have played 20-plus games with Norfolk, he's the only one in the positives.
Right. So,
well, we moved to Orlando, where it's just been all over the place so far down there. Not quite the year that they probably imagined, or not quite the start they imagined getting off to. I think you and I both swap over to the defensive side of things here with Michael Brodinski, 5 goals, 13 assists for 18 points. And a -2 in his 25 games played. Currently sits 7th in the ECHL in D-men points.
This was a bit of a surprising one to me, and I didn't want to go back and bend the rules on the games played, but Aaron Lucic missed, I think, our games played window by 1, I think. And I believe had he actually been in there, he would have been another lock, if you will, for the All-Star teams. But either way, Michael Brodzinski has been a really good addition to this Orlando team. Another playmaker on the blue line as well. Plays solid defense. He doesn't hurt his team by taking unnecessary penalties. A really stay-at-home defenseman that makes plays and can help you out on the special teams as well. He's my pick for Orlando.
Another bubble team fighting for some position in the midfield right now is the Reading Royals, who come in next. You and I both keep it with the top scorer as of right now at Jacob Pritchard, 8 for 16 points in 19 games. And really, it's been him and Frank DiChiara who have been able to lead this offense thus far.
Yeah, and they've had a really good backstop. I think ECHL fans may know him. His name's Pat Nagel. When he's not been called up, Nagel has been rock solid for the Reading Royals. They're going to need more from Jacob Pritchard, Frank DiChiara, and the supporting cast here if Reading's going to make a run when they come out of their COVID window.
We switch back to the defensive side of things, and we keep it we go down to the rookie level when we go down to South Carolina. Patrick Holway, the defenseman, has 13 points in 17 games played, just 1 goal. The other 12 are assists. Your thoughts on him?
When I looked at the South Carolina Stingrays, it's easy to take Andrew Chernichin and Justin Florek and maybe even Jordan Subban, but to have Patrick Holway on a team that has struggled defensively, he has the most assists on the team with 12, and he's a rookie. I think, if anything, what we've given you our teams so far, and I think the thing that we're starting to convey here is the fact that this kind of fits the model for what the league wants in their all-star teams. Not a lot of veterans. We want to put the spotlight on those players who are at the rookie level and in that tweener category to maybe have them move up to the next level at some point this season or in future seasons. So I think Patrick Holway fits all of those boxes. And not to mention, he on a team that has struggled defensively so far this year, he's playing at a -3. So again, going back to that plus-minus conversation, he's in that window of it could be a bad change here or a bad change there, and that's keeping him on the negative side of that ledger.
When I looked through this lineup and was figuring out who I wanted, I typed out Jordan Subban. And then the second time I looked through it, I swapped over to Patrick Holway. And that's because you're getting the same production you're getting out of Jordan Subban, except it's from a rookie. And that's what this league's all about, is promoting the play of some of these young players and getting them to the next level. And when you put those two guys at the same level, you want to reward the guy who's never played at the professional level before. And that's exactly what Patrick Holway's done, and done very well.
Right. Yeah. And the ECHL wants to, this was a complaint of mine for years. Why are we not putting the best players in the ECHL, regardless of their class, veteran, tweener, rookie? Why are we not putting the best players on the ice regardless? Well, having watched it live, the ECHL All-Star Game is a development showcase. It's just like if the SPHL had an All-Star Game, it would be just like that. It's just like any other All-Star event at any level of junior hockey. It's a showcase for the best players who are on the verge of moving up. If you're a veteran in this league, and we have a couple of veterans on our teams as well, if you are a veteran, you probably had your day in the sun. So, and that's probably the blunt way of putting it, but you've had your day in the sun to go in there and take the spotlight from a rookie who's got promise and moving up. I think it rings a little hollow, but still, yeah, I could have gone either way, Patrick, with Jordan Subban or Patrick Holway. Again, the edge to me is Patrick Holway because of the career path, I guess.
We move up north where we have the uncertainty. Trois-Rivières up next. I really wanted to put in Philip DeRosier, the goaltender, going 12-3-0, but his goals against average getting closer to the 3 level is what held me back from that. And that's when I think I came back and agreed with you, Olivier Galpo, the defenseman there.
Yeah, this is a guy who won a Kelly Cup with the Fort Wayne Comets last year. He's racked up 19 points in 23 games played, a pair of goals and 17 assists for him. This is you and I are both, I think when we both saw the defense that TR was coming with, you and I both looked at each other and thought, man, this is going to be a rock'em sock'em defense. I didn't think Olivier Galipeau would be the best defenseman of that bunch, but here he is with nearing with about 15 points shy, but he's on the right track to get a career high in points this year. Again, like I said, he won a Kelly Cup with the Comets last year with 4 points in 8 playoff games for them on a team that is loaded with talent. And this TR team has all of the names: Olivier Archambault, Peter Abbandonato, Anthony Nellis, Alexis Deaust, Sean Saint-Amant, all of the names that you've seen sprinkled on other teams throughout the ECHL this year. In previous years, they are all there together. To the fact that Olivier Galipeau has the 4th most points on that team right now at 19 stands out to me. And I needed a defenseman to round out my core, so he's it.
If COVID does not hurt this Trois-Rivières team in this next couple of weeks, look out.
Yes.
They are going to be a thorn sticking with all of those North Division teams, and you know that they are absolutely praying for that second seed spot so that they can at least get past the first round without having to face Newfoundland in the playoffs.
Yeah, at least not yet, not in that first round. Yeah, they'd have to play them in the second round, which would be
just as bad, but
yeah, buckle up.
Well, we conclude the Eastern Conference with Worcester. It appears you and I both switched to the veteran side of things here.
Yeah, we both went with Jordan Smotherman, 8 goals and 9 assists and 18 points. And for the Worcester Railers this year, Smo has been one of the leaders on that team. He's wearing the captaincy there on a really young team, been the offensive catalyst for that club. You just look through his body of work wherever he's been in hockey, and he's put up big points, and he's been a really solid leader off the ice. To the point that you and I will have, to the conversation you and I will have about Toledo's pick here in just a few minutes, I think that Jordan Smotherman is one of those players who can bring the young players who are seeing it for the first time, and he can actually say, all right, stay in your shoes. This is, just another part of the process here. And he's a good person to have that conversation with.
And this is a Worcester team that's just been on the tough end of a couple of games, only a -7 goal differential. They're sticking in the games they're in. And the fact that they've got Smo at the level he's at, I believe he's 5 or 6 points above the next guy on the team there. Mm-hmm. He's leading and he's doing it the right way. And in a tough division like the North, that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we've heard the last from this Worcester Railers team. I think they're going to make a little bit of noise in the second half, and they're going to need Jordan Smotherman to continue his hot play if they're going to do that.
Well, reset your brains there for a second. We're moving to the Western Conference, and it's the veteran connection, if you will, in Allen that we lead off with, and the veterans are where we'll keep it at. Chad Costello, both of our picks, 22 points in 20 games. When you sign Chad Costello in the offseason, this is what you expect from him, and it's exactly what they've got.
Yeah, he's probably going to get 50 to 60 points this year by being Chad Costello. That's by, finding the open man and just the vision that he has on the ice to make plays that other players simply cannot make. Chad Costello is going to do that. He's coming off a knee surgery, but it appears to be moving just fine. We've watched a couple of Allen games, and we'll see them here in Wichita later this week. Seems to be doing just fine. Thank you very much. 22 points in 20 games for him, as you talked about. And again, another player who I think will be will live vicariously through the other players and kind of mentor them as they go through this all-star process. I like Chad Costello's game a lot. Surefire ECHL Hall of Famer when he hangs it up. He Absolutely. Gets my all-star pick.
No surprise you and I agreed, and I'm really glad we agreed on Cincinnati. Not only does he lead the team in points, but he has been one of the most exciting players in the ECHL to watch so far this year. Yushiro Hirano, leading by quite a handful, 29 points in 24 games there for the Cyclones thus far. What do you love about his game?
I just love the fact that he is a sharp shooter. 94 shots on net so far this year for him. 16 have gone behind goaltenders. This kid is a sharp shooter. I love the story about him. Having been born over in Japan, he comes over, has a decent college career in D3. He goes to Wheeling and puts up decent numbers there with the Nailers in back-to-back seasons. Puts up 72 points. Or excuse me, not 72. Math is hard sometimes. 92 points in just over 115 games there for the Nailers, and then goes off to Cincinnati and is having a whale of a season. This is a tremendous story, and I hope even if Jacksonville doesn't make an All-Star team or have an All-Star game, I hope he gets some recognition this year, because that is one hell of a story that is playing out on the banks of the Ohio River.
It's a Cincinnati team who is fighting in the depths of a Central Division that is just once again brutal. But when you've got a guy like that leading the team in points, he's doing it the right way and he's making plays happen. I'm excited to watch how the rest of the season goes for Hirano. He's a fun player to watch. If you haven't had time to do it yet, make sure you do it. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's going to give you 60 minutes just about every night.
Does he get past 60 points this year, you think?
I could definitely see it. He's sitting right at the 30-point or just under the 30-point line now, and we're still just under a month away from the halfway point through the season. So it certainly wouldn't be a surprise if he did it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we moved to Fort Wayne, the reigning champions, and it's a D-man who attracts the attention for both of us, Will Graber.
Our friend Justin Cohn did a really good piece on Will Graber and how this guy has become the Swiss Army knife for the Fort Wayne Comets. I watched the back half of the Cincinnati Fort Wayne game Friday night, I believe, and Will Graber was up front taking faceoffs. A defenseman up front taking faceoffs. You never mind the fact that you look at the D over there in his position. Yeah, okay. But this guy is a utility player through and through, 20 points in 17 games, leading the team also in the second in plus minus there with plus 14 for him. Again, I love what he does up front and on the blue line as well. Does anything Coach Ben Boudreau asks, and for me is just a no-brainer decision for Fort Wayne.
We get to Idaho, and that's where you and I start to fade off from each other for the first time here in the Western. I'll let you lead off.
I went with Jake Kupski, who has a 7.2 0-0 mark, a 165 goals against average, a 927 save percentage with a pair of shutties on the year for him. When you look at everybody in the ECHL, you look at every qualified goaltender, you got to have the best goaltender numbers-wise on the board, and that's goals against average. Jake Kupski is it for me. And then the next guy right below him is Matt Jarusik with a 1.66 goals against average. So I flipped a coin. Literally, I flipped a coin when I did this. Kupski on one side, Jarusik on the other. Kupski went for me, and that's how I settled it. But I was going with a goaltender in Idaho either way, and that is a goaltending farm up there, by the way. You look at some of the players who have gone through there and tended net for the Steelheads. Not only do you have these two in Kupski and Jarusik, but you had Tomas Scholl there for a few years as well. Philippe DeRosier there for a few years as well. And then you go back to some of their Kelly Cup champion days. Steve Silverthorne was there way back when for the Steelheads. This franchise does a really good job of finding good goaltenders and building the team out from the net. And this Idaho team is going to be hard to beat down the stretch and in the playoffs if these two netminders continue doing what they're doing. Coach Everett Sheen balancing it out with 10 games each for Kupski and Jarusik.
before I get to my actual pick, I want to put a watch out on another rookie there in Idaho that I think could maybe get the nod. And that's Yaheni Oksiensiuk. He
Ooh.
was, I believe he was the rookie of the week, rookie of the month, maybe even in the first week, the first month of the season. He has slowed down here and there, but he has been a consistent performer on the offensive side of things, and would be a very good look for Idaho if he's the one that's selected. I have, now that I'm looking back, I have no idea how I got that name right on my first try. that, that one's difficult. That's a tough spelling. But I did swap to the likes of a vet, and all three. I'll spoil it a little bit. I have another vet later on. The vets that I've put in on this Western side, I think, are the right people, because they're going to lead the rookies and the tweeners in a way that they're gonna learn from this experience. And AJ White, I think, is going to be a great pick for Idaho. He's been a solid performer all year for the Steelheads thus far. 10 goals, 14 assists for 24 points in 25 games. Not taking a ton of penalty minutes, 4 goals on the power play. I like what we see out of him. If he's the one selected, I think he's going to do good things for the young players around him.
I'll buy you a beer if you pronounce that name again.
Well, Yahini is the first name. That's the easy part. But
right.
Oksiensiuk, maybe.
It
was smooth the first time, so
that's true. And
I'll go crop that first one, and that's going to be the baseline.
Kudos to you for that. We'll give you the push. I'll still buy you the beer. We got to have our good friend Colin Shuck, the voice of the Idaho Steelheads, on the podcast to give us a pronouncer on his name, if nothing else. I see your AJ White decision there in Idaho. Definitely can't go wrong with that choice. You could also go with Luke Brown as well, a much easier to pronounce name there for the Steelheads, a rookie who has 17 points, pretty balanced goal stat sheet, 8 goals, 9 assists for him as well. Hard to pick any of them against any of those Steelheads here for our ECHL All-Star team.
Indy struggled out the gate, now 4-4-2 in their last 10 games. Who do you have there for the Fuel?
I went with Brent Gates, who has been on fire for this team recently. 9 goals and 19 assists for 28 points in 22 games played for him. You need an offensive leader in a team that has a ton of talent up front, and Brent Gates has been that leader. I think we're starting to see the kind of player he could be here at the ECHL level. Has already eclipsed a career high in points in a single ECHL season. His previous career high was 20 points in 25 games with Tulsa back in the 2019-20 season. Battled some injuries last year, battled a trade with between Tulsa and Indy, and just never really kind of got it going last year. But here he is again, fully healthy and leading the Fuel offensively there with 28 points for him.
Indy's also got some really unique defensemen between Keone Teixeira, who we got to see for a year in Wichita, Cliff Watson, Jacob Laguerre. They've got some of the best defensemen in the league when they're playing the right way of hockey, and Mike Lee has done that to the best level. He leads all ECHL D-men in points and assists. He's setting the guys up around him very well. He's got 23 points in 23 games. He's my pick for Indy. Again, I think it's a guy who can go into the All-Star event and make the people around him better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely can't go wrong with either one of those players for Indy.
We go back to the rookie line when it goes to Iowa, an Iowa team that is basically saying, if you're ready to lead this team, step up and do it. And that's what Chris Bennett's done.
Yeah, 11 goals, 11 assists, and 22 points in 15 games played. I think here we kind of bent the rule a little bit, our 75% rule. He went up and played up in Iowa, had a couple of games with the Wild there earlier this year as they've been battling some COVID issues. But you're right, he's been the leader of this hockey club here so far early this year. 6 total special teams goals. I watched the Thunder Heartlanders game here a couple of weeks ago. He was the fastest guy on the ice. And that says a lot about a Thunder team, especially when you're talking about a Thunder team that loves to play fast. So the fact that Chris Bennett was the fastest player on the ice, I want him in there purely for the skills competition aspect of that game. Never mind the fact that he can tear it up go on goals and set up plays as well. So for me, Chris Bennett's that guy for Iowa.
To me, the fact that he's a rookie playing at this level is what allowed me to bend the rules on the 75%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's doing things the right way. And this is an Iowa team that really got off to a struggling start. And we're really looking for a guy to step up and start to be a playmaker. And Bennett did that well. So I think this is a good experience for him if he's selected to the All-Star event.
Yeah. 1.47 goals or points per game for Chris Bennett so far this year. I think that is the highest in the ECHL.
Well, we flipped to KZoo, staying up there in the Central Division. Who do you have there?
For me, I went with Brendan Miller, the defenseman there. 5 goals, 15 assists for him in 20 games played. He also has 20 points. I like the fact that he's one of those defensemen that sets up plays, really strong defensively, as his +8 shows. He's also not afraid to play the body and kind of take that enforcer role. 60 minutes and penalty minutes for him this year. So for me, Brendan Miller rather is that complete package of a defenseman, if you will. Good to see him get a nod for Kalamazoo, at least on my All-Star team.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's Brendan Miller for me as well. The one that I do want to just keep an eye on is the likes of Justin Taylor. Yeah, he leads the wings and points, but he's got 6 power play goals. 6 of his 9 goals are on the power play.
Yeah,
he's been electric there for him and been one of the reasons they've been able to stay in games. Kalamazoo, another team that is sticking right in there, currently 8th in the Western Conference, trying to stay in the fold with the likes of Indy and Iowa falling out of the playoff race for right now. Keep an eye on Kalamazoo as they could continue to keep the foot on the gas as they go on through the year. We'll swap over to the Mountain Division now, though. Kansas City, a team who I think most of us think has underperformed so far.
Yeah, and we'll get to see them here in a couple of weeks in Wichita as well. But the one player on that roster who has not consistently has been Nick Pastujov. 21 points in 22 games for him this year, a +8 on a Kansas City Mavericks team that has not played well defensively at all. And when you look at his numbers last year to this year, a pretty consistent player. He's going to go above his 2021 numbers this year. I really like this kid's game. Has a good nose for the net, goes to the net hard. And he's uses his speed all over the ice. He broke up a couple of plays last year when I saw him play against Wichita that you thought he was dead to rights on. Used his speed to get in there and break those plays up. For me, he's an all-star, one of the best players on that Mavericks roster right now, on a Mavericks roster that has wholly underperformed so far this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been one of the guys who very rarely does he have a poor night. If it's a night he's staying off the scoreboard in the points category, he's making sure he's helping out, putting quality shots on net, helping out the guys around him. I think the fact that he's gotten to have some minutes with Derek Angeli and Lane Scheidel has helped his game as well. Mm-hmm. Regardless of if the team results are there, he's at least becoming a better player.
Yeah. And I think that this is a kid who will probably be up in the American Hockey League. You give him one more ECHL season to fine-tune that game, and he's going to be one of those players who bounces back between the A and E in years to come.
Well, we now move to Rapid City up north in the Black Hills. Both of us falling back to the veteran side of things.
Yeah, we're going to go with Logan Nelson here, and this is the no-brainer of the group. If Chad Costello was a big no-brainer for Allen, Logan Nelson is an even bigger one. 31 points in 25 games for him, 9 goals and 22 assists. A third of those goals coming on the power play for him as well. When you look at the stats, expand those out. His power play, he has a couple of game-winning goals this year as well. So I really like the game that he's put together this year, and it's earned him an American Hockey League call-up to Tucson for a couple of games right before the Christmas break. So good to see him get another look up in the American Hockey League. He's my ECHL All-Star pick from the Rapid City Rush.
I really like where Rapid City is right now, currently third in the Mountain Division, given a lot of teams a lot to work with, and Logan Nelson has been where that started. So I agree right there with you. Not much more to add. You put it there pretty great. That's the type of guy you want coming to an all-star event to help lead the guys around him, and that's what he'll do.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to go as Logan Nelson goes. Will the Rapid City Rush 5-5 in their last 10. I still think the Rush need a little bit more scoring down the stretch as we head toward the push toward the trade deadline. But I think Logan Nelson will be right there and probably have a 60-point year by the time it's all said and done.
Well, then we swap to Toledo, another one that you and I disagree on, but I think we're both kind of okay with disagreeing on this one.
Yeah, I went with Billy Christopoulos for the Walleye, 10-2-0-1, a 262 goals against average and 914 save percentage and 13 starts for him this year. This kid puts up good numbers wherever he goes. He was in Indy last year and put up some really gaudy numbers for the Indy Fuel last year. And hello, Kitty. He hasn't gotten the shutouts that Caden Fulcher has yet, but those will come, I think. But, I mean, you look at his record overall in his career, Billy Christopoulos is a 45-win goaltender against 10 losses in regulation. This kid just doesn't lose and plays really solid net minding. He's my ECHL All-Star pick for Toledo.
For a while, I had TJ Hinsick in as my representative for Toledo in the same regards that we have Logan Nelson and Chad Costello, and he's going to be the guy who will lead the team in a positive way and make the kids around him better. But I, in the end, decided to put AJ White as my third veteran on the Western side and hop down a line to Josh Dickinson, who has also been a very good asset on the ice, but also it seems to be off the ice. He seems to lead these guys well. When you have a guy like TJ Hinsick, you don't really need another strong verbal leader, and Josh Dickinson seems to be the guy who's helping out on the sideline, if you will, kind of in the shadow of the season TJ Hinsick is off to. I think one of the most impressive things about Dickinson, 26 points in just 17 games. He's made it happen when he's there with the Toledo Walleye.
Yeah, and he earned an American Hockey League call-up as well to Grand Rapids here as the Griffins were dealing with some COVID issues. Again, one of those high-end ECHL players who could probably play on an AHL lineup, but it would be in the third and fourth lines there. I love what Josh Dickinson brings to the table. To your point, 26 points. Most of his goals are coming at even strength. Just one shorthanded goal for him on the year. A lot of his points are coming even strength. This is a good Walleye team, 5-on-5. They're good on special teams as well. And I mean, I respect the decision not to go with TJ Hinsick, but doesn't it seem thinly veiled that the league's leading scorer at the time of the All-Star announcements doesn't get a bid?
And that's the way I approach this as well. At the end of the day, TJ Hinsick will likely be the pick for Toledo because of the season he's off to. I think you and I both want to see the two that we mentioned, but I think we both kind of know that if Hinsick keeps up with where he's at right now, he'll likely be the guy representing the Walleye.
Yeah. And I mean, but if you're looking through the prism that Matt and I are looking at of who do you want to showcase, then Josh Dickinson and Billy Christopoulos are doing that if you want to move them to the next level. I think TJ Hinsick is quite comfortable playing in Toledo and being on the ECHL bus. He's been there in the American Hockey League, done that, and had the T-shirt.
If you told me a year ago that we would agree that Mike McKee is the pick for Toledo, I would have thought you were crazy. But this is an exceptional year that Mike McKee is off to so far. 11 points in 17 games played, but a plus 17 during that time. He's been on the ice when things are going right, and he's helping out when things are going wrong.
Even better than that is his 24 PIMs on the year. And, you know, in years past, Mike McKee has been called upon to be kind of the police officer for the Tulsa Oilers, and I think that that's something he is extremely comfortable with. But you look at his numbers, and 11 assists, 14 assists, 10 assists. He can rack up the assists, and he plays solid defensively as well. Off to his best plus minus start in his entire ECHL career. You have to reward the season he's off to. The big man you and I both have watched him enough, plays the game well. As we talked about, is there to be the enforcer for his team when he needs it, when he needs it, or when they need it, and deserves a look in the ECHL All-Star game for sure.
He's on pace to finish with probably between 60 and 70 penalty minutes. Just for reference, in his 4 prior years with Tulsa, over 120 every single year. In 18-19, when they made their long playoff run, even had 194 that year in the regular season alone. The fact that he's cleaned the game up a little bit and is contributing now to more than just that is showing why he deserves to be an all-star. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, and this kind of goes counterintuitive to what you and I said just a minute ago with TJ Hinsick. Jack Dormus, Logan Coombs, Alex Gilmore could easily be the pick for Tulsa this year. Even Dylan Sadoway, who has 11 goals, 8 assists, and 19 points. Any one of those 4 could be the pick. But you and I have seen Mike McKee a ton. And this is using our knowledge of the street, if you will, to put the right guy in there. And I think Mike McKee is it.
This is a totally different Mike McKee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's almost like he's Adam Plesk. This is Adam Pleskash's team, regardless. He's going to wear the C until he retires. But it almost feels like Mike McKee is kind of the captain of this team.
It seems like he's been the stand-in guy while Pleskash was injured to start the year.
Yeah. So good on Mike McKee. I hope he gets a bid for sure. I'm pulling for that bid.
Well, we keep it in the Mountain Division. Utah, a team who is being led by first-year head coach Ryan Kanasowicz, and we disagree here, but I want to hear who your pick is and some reasoning why.
So I actually gridded my team as if I was going to actually put together an all-star team of here's who I would have on my team, and I needed a defenseman. And Charlie Edward Deastu, gee, many Christmas, has been up in the American Hockey League now for a cup of coffee. But I wanted to go with another steady defenseman who has actually done very well this year, Andrew Nielsen. And you have 20 points in 25 games for him, 7 goals and 13 assists for him. This is his first ECHL season. He has a ton of experience up in the American Hockey League with 3 or 4 different teams. He's won a Calder Cup. This is a guy on this blue line and in that locker room who can take those young players and show them the right way to play the game. And clearly he is that guy for this team. We got to see him a lot here in the last week as they railroaded Wichita, handing the Thunder 4 straight losses and sweeping that season series for the first time ever. Andrew Nielsen was a big part of that. He's got a great offensive game. 3 of his 7 goals come on the power play. He can play the body as well with 71 PIMs on the year, and a solid leader for this hockey club.
This time I opted for a rookie, Brandon Cutler. 27 points in 23 games played, a plus 15, even 3 goals shorthanded. This is one of the guys that stuck out to me as this guy needs to be in this game because he's one of the league's best rookies.
That's a fair point. That is a completely fair point. I don't doubt that at all. And you probably will see Brandon Cutler in the ECHL All-Star game when they make those announcements here in a couple weeks. But he definitely has tinges of Matthew Boucher from last year, of going out there and leading the rookies, leading rookie scoring, and winning the league's Rookie of the Year, winning the league's Rookie of the Year award. A complete all-around player this year. This Utah team is scary good in the Mountain Division right now, and they are sitting atop the league here at the Christmas break with 35 points.
7-2-1-0 in their last 10. The Wheeling Nailers are in a playoff spot at the Christmas break and sitting pretty all right up there at 29 points, tied for second with Fort Wayne. Who do you have there?
I went with Josh Maniscalco as my all-star pick. 16 points in 18 games for him, and 16 penalty minutes. But more importantly, to our conversation about plus minus earlier, plus 19. So now you're actually starting to see the kind of player he is on the ice, facilitating the offensive play, and that shows for him as a rookie defenseman as well. For him this year, pretty solid rookie campaign. If you were to hand out a rookie defenseman of the year, he'd probably be in that category for me. As it is, you're not getting that award at this level of hockey, but an all-star bid, pretty good.
He leads the league in plus minus with that plus 19, and he's also my pick. Like I just mentioned with Brandon Cutler, this is a game where you want the league's best rookies to be showcased, and that's exactly what he is. He's also my pick for Wheeling, which brings us to our final team in the ECHL, the team that you and I have a little closer connection with, the Wichita Thunder. Who do we think there?
This was tough, and I went with Peter Cronella. And I'll be honest, I honestly thought you were going to go with Jay Dickman. And I wanted to offer up a different point of view, but he's going to have his best season in a Thunder uniform, 22 points in 24 games. He's playing on a line with Jay Dickman and Carter Johnson. And I think he's one of the bright stories that is not getting told at this level. And shame on me for not telling Peter Cronella's story. An all-star in 2019-20 before the COVID stoppage, had 32 points. He's going to easily eclipse that this year, and has turned into a solid leader for this Thunder club for head coach Bruce Ramsey. I would give him the all-star nod, but in all reality, I think it's going to go to Jay Dickman. Either way, you can't go wrong with either player for Wichita, and it's a well-deserved pick for either one of them.
Peter Cronella was easily on his way to 25 goals in the pause season in 1920, and has been one of the best guys for Bruce Ramsey's club all 3 years. For me, it's hard to pick out a game he hasn't given 60 full minutes to that team. I think he's been one of the guys who every year when we get to the beginning of the new season, I almost expect him to be the next guy to be announced because he seems to play the Bruce Ramsey style of hockey. I'm sorry, Coach Rammer, I know you hate that we call it your brand of hockey, but he does. It's that 60 full minutes, leaving every bit on the ice every single night. I think I agree with you. I think Jay Dickman is likely going to be the pick just because of the offensive performances he's had so far this year. But Peter Cronella is a heart and soul guy so far for Wichita. If he spends another year or two here, I would not be surprised to see a C appear on his jersey.
Yeah, I would agree. And this has been a team that has been ravaged by call-ups to the American Hockey League, injuries. Peter Cronella and Jay Dickman have been the two shining stars through it all for this Wichita Thunder Hockey Club. And I go back to last year, 2020-21 for Wichita. Peter Cronella, on a team that was loaded offensively, played third, fourth line minutes, didn't get the top minutes, was a healthy scratch in a couple of the playoff games last year, came back into this season determined to not have that happen again, and is putting up nearly and is going to put up a career high in numbers in both goals, assists, and points for him. It's good to see. It's a good story for Wichita, and I'm going to tell it here very soon.
Well, those are our picks. If you don't want to give all of them, at least let us know a couple of teams and who you think deserves the All-Star nod. We expect that if the ECHL All-Star game is to be played out here in the next couple of weeks, maybe 10 to 14 days, hopefully we'll start to see the lineups announced for that, and we'll let you know how close we were in some of our predictions. But it does bring us to our All-Star coaches. Who do you have? Let's go first with the East.
I'm going to go with Eric Wellwood from Newfoundland. Generally the best teams at this point of the season get the nods in those coaches. Eric Wellwood led the Newfoundland Growlers to an unbelievable start to the season. They're 9-0-0 on the road. They could stand to win a few more games on home ice, but he's been a really solid leader. This is his rookie year behind a pro bench, and he had to deal with being kicked out of the arena, having to be on the road, maybe not on the road. We're going to go to the CBS arena. Okay, we're going to play there. Now we're going to go home. Oh, by the way, COVID's happening. So through all of that, he's been the rock solid leader for that hockey club. He deserves my all-star coaching pick from the East.
Like the first name, not the last name. I've got Eric Bellinger from Trois-Rivières. This is a team that started off their franchise with 3 straight losses. Not too fair to make them play Newfoundland 3 straight times to start the franchise off with. 8-1-0-1 in their last 10, and they're in the right way. They're in the right space now. They and Newfoundland have really disconnected themselves with the rest of the North Division. That's, I guess, somewhat what we expected with this team. The way they loaded up in the offseason and right there at the beginning of free agency, we knew they were going to be a good team. But what he's done there behind the bench has been extraordinary, and that's why he's my pick on the East side.
Can't go wrong with that pick either. Slow start for Trois-Rivières, but again, all of that talent being put together, Eric Bellinger deserves credit for putting it all together and finding the right pieces.
How about the West?
I'm going to go with Dan Watson. I love Dan Watson, and I love the way that he coaches and the style that he brings to a hockey club, to that hockey club there in Toledo. He is Toledo Walleye hockey, and I hope for Dan Watson's sake that he gets a look at a higher league here very soon. But for me, Dan Watson is as good as they come, and it's good to see him get another All-Star bid. Go ahead, give me your coach, and then I've got a question.
I absolutely agree. Dan Watson is my pick as well. I made that pick before I even saw yours, so it made me glad that we were kind of agreeing there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you put on the bench in front of him. He has a way of just making players better.
Right.
And kind of in the same way that Steve Martinson seems to do with young guys. Just about every night, you're going to get 100% from him behind your bench. And if the team can perform in front of him, it's a hard duo to stop.
Should the league honor, I know in Major League Baseball, it's whoever won it's the 2 teams, the manager for the 2 teams who played in the World Series get to manage the All-Star game the next year. Do you think it should be maybe the top 2 in the ECHL Coach of the Year race or whatever? You think that they're picking the All-Star coaches the right way?
I think the right way to choose the All-Star coaches are who are the ones that are putting their team in the best position to win. I think you look, first of all, at the start of free agency. What did they do to build their team, and how have they continued to do that as the season's progressed? Are they making moves to make the team better? Are they staying firm when the team's good? And Dan Watson is a guy who is not going to jump on a move quickly. He's going to take his time to make sure the team can develop, and they've just naturally done it. So that's why he seemed like such a natural fit to me. Eric Bellinger, the reason that I was in his corner for this one was also because of how he started free agency, really loading up with the French Canadians and letting the guys just play home hockey, really. And they've got to fight with some of the best in the league and proven themselves. And that's the criteria I like to see. I'd like to know exactly what the ECHL looks at when they decide on the 2 coaches.
Yeah, I think it's the win-loss record at the All-Star break, and if you used, it's just natural that you take the two best teams from the different conferences. I don't know. I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with how the ECHL settles that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it would be nice to see the coach of the year and maybe a runner-up, or the team at team leading the other conference at the halfway point get a nod or something like that. I don't know. Just throwing it out there to see if it stuck in the conversational win. So yeah.
Well, there's our thoughts on the ECHL All Stars, both the players and the coaches. Like I mentioned, hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll start to hear some announcements on when we're going to hear those names, and we'll compare what we thought with what the actual decisions are.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good exercise. It went forever, but it was a good exercise to do. I hope we're right more than we're wrong.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Well, in our third period, we kind of take it a little easier this time. We got the game pretty much settled in the first two, so we can play a little stay-at-home hockey here. We've got picks to click, but not for this upcoming week, as it is still in the COVID sorry, not the COVID shutdown, the Christmas shutdown. Hopefully, we don't have a COVID shutdown yet.
Yeah.
I'm a level with you. It was a bad week for me last week.
I needed a good week. I got a good week. 3-2. I'm 2 games behind you. Actually, it's more like 2.5 because you got the overtime loss. But still, I mean, I was 4 down. I'm actually not feeling that bad.
My poor Gladiators. Don't worry, I'm still riding with you guys all year. That was a hard one to swallow. You didn't let me forget that one early.
No, I sure didn't. I had to gloat because you and I both took Toledo Friday night to beat South Carolina, and in the surprise of the week, Orlando put 7 guys on the COVID list, then went out and defeated Allen on Allen American ice on Friday night. That was a big line in the sand moment for that Orlando Solar Bears team. Any Cincinnati Fort Wayne, I'll admit, Saturday night I was sweating that out. I thought that Fort Wayne would come back and win that game almost surely, but thank God Yushiro Hirano scored the game-winning goal in overtime for Cincinnati. And then again, you and I both thought Tulsa would up in Orlando on Sunday afternoon before the break. Not to be. Orlando goes in there and puts another whooping on the Tulsa Oilers, their second Western Conference team in a row that they did that to. This Orlando team is pretty good.
Allen just has 2 wins inside their home barn this year. Kind of unreal down there for the Americans. And really, that's been their shortcomings this year. They've been good on the road, but they can't get it done down there in the formerly known as the Allen Event Center. Just because I keep forgetting the new name.
Yeah,
Texas
I do.
Star Credit Union or something along those lines.
North Texas Bank, or I don't know.
They haven't gotten it done there, regardless of what the building's called. The ice inside has not been too favorable for them.
Right. Yeah. So we'll take the week off on picks because the league loads back up on Sunday afternoon. But don't fret. We'll be back with those next week. Just one game on the app on Sunday afternoon. It is Tulsa, Wichita. You, my friend, and I will have the pregame show for everybody at 3:30 Sunday afternoon. The game broadcasts with Jason Malls at 4 o'clock. And then you and I are calling Tulsa, Wichita on Monday night, a little Monday night special for everybody. Our pregame show gets underway at 6:30 Central Time right here on the world-famous Field Pass Hockey app.
Yeah, I'm excited. Should be a couple fun nights of hockey. It'll be interesting to see how the ECHL handles the next week. So I'm eager to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maine Worcester was supposed to happen on Sunday. Not going to happen. Maine has COVID issues on their roster, and so Worcester will play Adirondack on Sunday afternoon. They're in central Massachusetts.
Yeah, and that's a good heads up for them right away to swap a game in that was already postponed earlier to just get it out of the way. That's exactly what we need to see the ECHL doing. So I was glad to see that they made that swap so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are done talking hockey. We're shifting now to Christmas traditions. We've talked all the hockey we're going to talk. We talked about that for 85 minutes and a really long second period. The rest of the show is about Christmas traditions. So on the eve of Christmas, give me some of the things that you love doing this time of the year.
Man, I want to say you put me on the spot, but I think I've seen this question coming for the last week.
You saw it in the prep on Tuesday.
um, I think first and foremost, just getting the time with family, and I think I realize that more and more now that I'm living 9 hours away from home, and who knows what the next couple of years look like. So soaking up every second I can. I get a full 3 weeks here at home before I head back to Indiana, and I'm not letting any of them go to waste. I've got to see my nephew quite a bit, which is they're all valuable seconds. So getting the time with family is probably bigger than anything for me. I know there's usually football or basketball on Christmas. I don't know because I don't usually have time to do it.
Right.
I like to just disconnect myself from sports for at least one day a year and really focus on the people who matter.
Right. Yeah. It feels like Christmas Day is like the day after the Major League Baseball All-Star game where there's just nothing going on. And that's exactly how I want it to be. The only person I want to see on Christmas Day are my family and friends. So I enjoy doing that. I think the wife and I are going to we've kind of carved out our own tradition where we open up Christmas gifts. First of all, I love breakfast for dinner. Love Brenner. So the wife tomorrow night, Christmas Eve, is making Brenner. And that's our tradition. We have Brenner every Christmas Eve. And then some Christmas Eves, pre-COVID, we would go to church. We'd go to a mass. Others, we would not. We decided not to go in the era of COVID. So tomorrow night, we are going to, I believe, open presents. And then we are going to go look at lights. And it's going to be a light-a-palooza for us. I will drive all over our part of Kansas to go look at lights. And if you don't, by the way, if you have not been out to Rose Hill, which is just off to our east here from Wichita, there is a Griswold house that is completely lit up. You can see that thing from miles away. You've got to go out there and look at it.
Has ISS reported it yet?
What's that?
Has the ISS reported it yet?
They're close. Like this is Clark Griswold-esque from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. By the way, while we're on the subject of movies, favorite Christmas movie, and I may have just given you mine.
Ooh. Oh man. I can give you my least favorite, and that's Elf. I'm a pretty solid person on the fact that I've never cared for it, so I can go there.
Yeah.
All the Claus movies were pretty good back when. Yeah, I liked those. So I guess that's my pick. Not a huge Christmas movie person. Both my mom and my girlfriend's mom are into the Hallmark movies or movie with a little different plots.
Oh,
don't want to offend anyone out there, so I have to listen to plenty of those. So it's anything but those, probably.
Those are flat out the worst.
It's one plot with lots of different characters.
The only thing, and I'll say this, the only thing that makes those movies good are the fact that I get to see Candace Cameron Bure, who I think is for a woman who's my age, I'm 38, I think Candace Cameron Bure is an absolute smoke show. And I get to see Veronica from How I Met Your Mother, who I think is cute too. So that is my viewing eye candy for 2 hours. And you're right. It is one plot with completely different people, and the storyline is just tinkered. Those movies are flat brutal.
I'm pretty sure the main lady has like a 30 movie contract.
Yeah, and
she seems to be in everyone.
and they shoot those movies in the middle of summer. So, like, seriously, how they're shooting them in California in the middle of summer? That cannot be comfortable. But anyway,
Well, I have to make sure before we get too far away from Christmas.
Yeah.
My best friends out there in McPherson, Tyler, tweeted just before we started, "I'm at the point in my life where I'm paying old ladies at kitchen stores to wrap presents. I made it!" Exclamation point. And I think that's, I mean, he's right there with myself. He's sitting here at 23 years old, and I think you and him share a lot of commonalities now.
We do. Speaking of that, I have a dilemma for you. This is Matt's dilemma for the podcast. So I'm not good at wrapping presents at all, and normally my wife will be like, "Hey, just wrap it. Doesn't matter how it looks. We're only going to open them. Doesn't matter how it looks. Just show me the effort." So this afternoon, she's sitting across the table from me, and I'm like, "Hey, I've got to, take a shower and do some other stuff before we go to dinner. Can you wrap your gifts?" She wrapped. Am I a bad person for making my wife wrap her own gifts? She didn't see what was in the box, what were in the boxes, but she wrapped her own gifts. This is why I come to you, because I trust your counsel on this.
I mean, I think you gained points by the being in boxes that at least hide them.
Yeah.
We're going to work this out next year, and I'll help you out so
Okay.
that your wife does not have to wrap her own presents.
Okay.
We'll try to make that one of the non-Christmas traditions in the Harding household.
Well, I did wrap 2, and one of them was the best wrapping job I've done in probably 7 years of wrapping presents.
So it was a leave it at that.
Yeah, I couldn't get any better than that. That was my walk-off shot.
So set that one on top so it looks the best right up there. Toss an extra bow on it.
She set them out by the tree already.
We'll pull that one up front, right?
Not only did she wrap her own presents, she also moved them out to the tree, which makes me husband of the year material because I'm completely lazy. I mean, I just think that makes me lazy, but I did go buy all the stuff.
So next year we'll get you ready to wrap gifts, and then you can offer to wrap her gifts to you next year.
Okay.
We'll just totally flip the script for her.
Can I offload that to somebody? Can I just outsource that?
Tyler thinks so.
Kat
is raising her hand now, so
she would?
Apparently that's what she's been doing for the last we've been on here an hour 30, so
okay.
That's what she's been up to. So
hell yes.
She might be starting an independent business here.
Wherever you guys move to, if you guys aren't here in Wichita next year, wherever you guys are, I'll just send those to you, and she can wrap them and send them back to me, and I'll PayPal you money.
There you go.
Easy. Done. Thank you.
So you've heard it here first, folks. Matthew Harding's favorite Christmas tradition is outsourcing his wrapping jobs.
Boom. That's it. That's it. My favorite. And that also ties in with what we learned in this episode. What'd you learn?
I think first and foremost, it's that you and I have the intentions for this All-Star game to be a showcase. It's on NHL Network. I mean, it's a place where everyone's going to be able to see what kind of talent is down here in this league. And first and foremost, you need the young players who are going to showcase the league well. And then you need the veterans who are going to provide them with a unique opportunity to not only showcase, but also learn from the experience.
I think what I learned in this episode is that COVID really sucks. And if you have COVID around this time of the year, we're pulling for you.
Absolutely.
But the other thing I learned is, man, the ECHL has a ton of good talent, right? This is, we thought that the talent last year was really good, and it was for everything that it was. The talent level was as best as it's ever been. The talent did come back down a little bit this year, but man, there are a whole lot of good players in this league, And when you put him on an all-star team together, there were some tough decisions to be made. Some players are going to be pretty disappointed that they didn't make the all-star team, but they should not be, because this league is damn good.
Absolutely.
So,
well, we've turned 20 and a half, an awful long half episode, if you ask me.
that's true.
But next week we'll join you there on, if you want to listen live, we'll be live there on Thursday nights. If not, we'll join you on Friday sometime. Hopefully we have a couple more answers when it comes to the current COVID situation within the ECHL. I expect that there's going to be another couple of games that get moved around. We're not immune to it. So we'll keep you updated with all that, as you can see on screen now, or if you're listening just to the audio version, you can follow us at 3 Periods Pod on Twitter. We'll keep you updated with what's going on with the COVID things. And we also want to know where you're watching games after Christmas, of course. Enjoy the time with your family, then get out to a hockey game. Let us know where you're watching from. We always want to know there. We can't ask for your picks to click this time, as there are none, but we would like to know, at least from your favorite team, who you'd like to nominate as your ECHL representative here in the coming week and a half. We'll open a fan vote to who you guys think would be your best picks. But from all of us here at Field Pass Hockey, we do want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and if we don't talk to you again until next week, a Happy New Year as well. We thank you for everything you've done for us here at Field Pass. We are going to be in a bit of a Christmas shutdown from Friday at noon to there in the evening time, maybe the next morning of Tuesday, and we'll continue bringing your favorite minor league hockey news from around the country.
It is a good chance for everybody to break away from this, rest and recharge. I know you and I have, and our whole editorial team has been working at this for over a year now with no days off, and we've worked games and covered championships, and we've went through an ownership change and all of that. So this will be a good time for everybody to break away for a little bit and just take a knee, get rested, recharged, and everything like that. I want to say thank you to you and to our entire editorial staff for all of the hard work you guys do day in and day out to produce the articles, to produce the content that has made us one of the best sites in minor league hockey. Thank you to everybody who has come to visit our site over the last year. We've had over 250,000 views so far in the back half of 2021. We're expecting much bigger things in 2022. But none of these blessings are possible without David Kuntz and David Arnott, who took the chance on us. So thanks very much to those guys, and thanks to the writers as well for everything that they do. Writers, photographers, editors, Kuntz and Arnott. It's the whole ecosystem here that makes the thing go round. I'm just proud to help lead it, do my small part and lead it. So thank you all very much.
Well, we certainly couldn't do it without you, but he's on this side of me today. He's Matthew Harding. I'm Matthew Will. Thanks for joining us. If we don't talk to you again, enjoy all of your holidays. And if you miss next week's episode, we're sure to bring you more in 2022 here in the ECHL. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the 3 Periods podcast. Again, enjoy your holidays, and we'll hopefully talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the 3 Periods podcast. Do you have a topic you'd like discussed? Hit us up on Twitter at 3 Periods Pod with the hashtag TPP on FPH. And for the latest news on the ECHL and minor league hockey, visit fieldpasshockey.com.
They're going home.
Thanks, Coach.
So get your facts straight.